A recent study shared that only 27% of workers in America say they're on track for retirement. Unfortunately, those who aren't on track and still had good grades in school, a solid education, well-paying jobs, and saving money still feel that retirement is out of reach. However, there is a way to retire, even with a smaller income. But you need to keep watching till the end of the video to find out. Number 1. Unaffordable housing. The cost of housing is the first biggest culprit in preventing many of the younger generation's retirement. For starters, it's already hard to find a home, considering that the demand is much greater than the supply. But even if you can find a home, it'll likely be way beyond your budget. As an example, if you're about 34 years old, which happens to be the median age of a homebuyer, and get a 30-year mortgage, then by the time you're around the age to retire, you'll still be paying for your home. And that's not considering if you've ever changed homes or upgraded your current one. Despite this, a home is still considered to be one of the best assets that anyone could have, especially when it comes to retirement. For instance, if you manage to pay off your home before you retire, then you'll have a place to live that's very inexpensive, considering the fact that you don't have to pay any mortgage. Now, if you really want to find a way to own a house, then you could apply skills like house hacking, living with roommates, or even living with your parents until you can save up some more money to get a bigger down payment on a home, so you can pay it off much quicker. Number 2. The largely inflated stock market. The stock market is still one of the best tools to grow your savings and fund retirement, but recent research suggests that the stock market may not perform at its strong 10% a year average for much longer. We'll illustrate this with an example. Imagine there are 10 lumberjacks that work at a small mill. They only have hand tools and specific quotas that need to be met every week to stay on track. One of the lumberjacks decided to use his paycheck to research how to mechanize the tools and make the process easier. Over time, he develops a drill to help screw wood faster. Eventually, he saves up enough money that he can supply all the lumberjacks with drills so that the team would only need 9 people instead of 10 to meet the quota, allowing him to retire. After some time, the lumberjacks start to catch the wind and create their own products, eventually reducing the number of lumberjacks needed to only 1 to supervise the machines. However, as more and more products are created, the harder it is to come up with something revolutionizing, thus causing growth to seriously slow down. If we apply this example to the stock market, then what caused the growth that we've come to take as a given is the speedy industrialization of our modern world. But now, newer innovations are harder to create and will inevitably slow down growth, which will slow down the rate of growth in the stock market. However, the stock market is almost guaranteed to grow. There's another problem called overinflation. An example to explain overinflation would be to imagine a share of a company costs $5,000 and pays a $10 dividend a day. Let's say that you need $200 a day to live comfortably. That means you would need to own 20 shares or $100,000 worth of shares. This is quite a big number, but it's possible to achieve with an average job and retiring at 65. But what if the share price increased to $20,000, but still only paid a $10 a day dividend? Now you'd need a whopping $400,000 in the same time period, just to retire. And this is far out of the realm of possibility for most people. Number 3. Endless growth coming to an end. A famous economist named Dr. Robert J. Gordon published a paper about concerns about the US economy and how it's coming to an end. He claims there are 6 significant economic headwinds that will bring at least 100 years of slowed economic growth and potentially remove retirement. The first is a loss of a demographic dividend. When women started to join the workforce between the 1960s and the 1990s, there was a huge boom in the economy due to the increased number of workers. However, it's impossible to have a boom of this impact, since there can't be another one of these demographic revolutions. The second is education losing its value. Not only schooling is incredibly expensive, but it's not also as prized as it was 50 years ago. This either calls people to have more schooling, which is more money spent, or to avoid it and settle for a job that pays less. The third is income inequality. A recent statistic shared that the top 1% has an annual income increase of 1.3%, but the rest of the 99% only has a 0.75%. That means our income isn't keeping up with inflation, meaning it'll get more expensive to live. The fourth is globalization. At this point, it's cheaper to find work in foreign places, and with many jobs seeing success through remote workers, many businesses are looking to hire outside of America, thus bringing the economy down. The fifth is energy and the environment. There's not much that needs to be said about global warming, except that it'll either slow down the universal resource, that's fossil fuels, through regulations, or there will be an environmental collapse. The sixth is debt. America is deep in debt and it needs to be paid back. The easiest way is to increase taxes. But what happens with that is individuals need to spend less, so they cut their budget. And unfortunately, savings are usually cut first. Despite the bleak outlook for those looking to retire, you may be still wondering if it's even possible to retire. Well, we've made a video on the famous Graham Stephan and his easy way to build wealth from $0. Click here for the best results you need ASAP.